Okay, so here we go. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the first 2024 meeting of the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance. You can give a show of hands if this is your first meeting, and we'd also love it if you would put your name, pronouns, and something that brought you to this meeting today right in the chat. And we'll have a bit more time later for us to interact together, but we would just love to know where everyone's coming from today. So the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance started with these core partners. They all committed to connecting Rhode Island's farmers and fishers to our food insecure neighbors in a way that benefits everyone. So by working together, we can improve the health and quality of our residents facing hunger. We create security for farmers and fishers with new and consistent markets. We can build a stronger state economy where local supply meets local demand, and more of our dollars and jobs stay in the state. We can also reduce our environmental footprint because the fresh food that we're circulating lasts longer, which means less waste, and it also decreases the amount of fuel expended per pound of the food distributed in Rhode Island. So this alliance is the key to doing all of that work. Today's meeting is a basic one. We're going to start by sharing some success stories from 2023 to kind of understand the landscape of what's been happening. We're also going to learn more about how to get involved and what that actually looks like. And as a group, we're going to discuss how we can make this market grow. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Nessa Richmond, the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council.
Thank you so much, Allison. It's great to see everybody here today. We at the Rhode Island Food Policy Council are so excited about the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance and thrilled to be working with these core partners. This is part of a 3-year grant. It's really just kind of the beginning of the second year of this grant. And so what I'm going to do is give you just a minute on the Rhode Island Food Policy Council, and then we're going to take the slides down and hear from our core partners about what they've been up to and what their plans are for the future. So the Rhode Island Food Policy Council is committed to building a more just and resilient food system in the state of Rhode Island. And we really see this work of connecting our local farmers and fishers with our local food insecure community as just the very heart and soul of that work. The council doesn't move food on the ground in Rhode Island, but we do bring people and organizations together in a way that they might not come together otherwise. Organizations that share a commitment to our mission to build a more equitable, accessible, economically vibrant, and environmentally sustainable food system here in the Ocean State. And I do want to note that, we operate with a strong commitment to equity. We recognize the fact that many of the negative impacts of our current food system are grounded in a history of colonialism, genocide of Indigenous people, enslavement, private ownership of land, and concentration of wealth and power in hands of too few people. We believe that when power shifts to be shared more equitably across our communities and across our state, we can transform the future together for generations to come. So to that end, we work to build and maintain a network of committed stakeholders from all across the food system, and everyone is welcome to become a member of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please go to our website and click on the Get Involved page, and that's where you can learn more about becoming involved in the Rhode Island Food Policy Council. Today, what we really want to do is dive into what is the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance, and the best way to do that, if you don't mind advancing the slide, Allie, is by talking to our core partners, because they are the ones who are moving the food on the ground and building this amazing market. And we want to keep building it and work with all of you who joined the meeting today to do that. So Allie, why don't you go ahead and you can take down the slides and maybe pin our core partners. They can be our pin-up people for the day. And what I really would love to do is just ask our core partners in turn to share a little bit about what your program accomplished in 2023. And maybe we'll do a round of that, and then we will circle back to talk about what you hope to achieve in 2024. And Ava, if I can pick on you to go first, I'd appreciate that. Just a little bit about what you all accomplished at Farm Fresh Rhode Island and with Hope's Harvest in the past year.
Sure. Thanks, Nessa. So I'm Ava. I'm the Director of Value Chain Strategy at Farm Fresh Rhode Island. We are working in large part with a program called the Local Food Purchasing Agreement Program, which is a federal program that gets administered through the Department of Environmental Management in Rhode Island, and we are a subcontractor with the DEM to run that program. So that's a $1.7 million program that started in 2020, in 2022. Is that right? Did I say it right? And goes through 2024/2025 a little bit. And so for us, our main accomplishment in 2023 was really seeing that program become something that we all felt like confident and understood how to move it forward. And it really took off this year. So 2022 was our first, it's a brand new program across the country. So it was new for everybody. And so we were kind of getting our legs under us. And then it felt like 2023, we really took off. And so that program is specifically designed to purchase food from local producers, with an emphasis on socially disadvantaged producers to sell product directly into the hunger relief system. And for the parts of that Farm Fresh was working on, we were able to run something called the Farm to Food Pantry program, which allowed agencies to purchase local product directly through the Market Mobile ordering platform, to the tune of $197,000 in 2023. So that's money that's for producers. So that's the money that the farmers got at the end of the day. And that included LFPA funding, and it also included some federal earmark funding from Senator Reed's office that we used to make sure we were really meeting the demand from the agencies for that program. One of the things I really loved about that is they're able to access proteins, so milk, eggs, and things that are not just straight fruits and vegetables, which was really, really great. And we are getting awesome feedback from the agencies about that program. The other thing that's really exciting for us in 2023 is that what we saw was those agencies then, beyond the grant funding that they received, purchased an additional $47,000 worth of product from the Market Mobile platform. So they ran out of grant money and then they bought more product through the platform, which shows the sort of commitment and the ease and the ability for those agencies to access and want to continue to access local product. So that's really awesome. We also work with a program called the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, which helps to get produce to senior citizens. And we were purchasing product for boxes for that. And we purchased $168,000 worth of produce for that program from farmers. And then we also contract with growers and we do surplus payments partially through LFPA funding and other funding sources. And that was $162,000 to farmers, or 151,000 pounds. So altogether, the money that went to farmers in 2023 through those different programs is $574,000. So that's over $500,000 to farmers just in 2023 through the programs that we've been able to run. And that just is like amazing. That's huge. It's a gigantic scale up from what this looked like 4 years ago. And the other thing I really wanted to highlight is we were able to start working with fisheries. And I know that Shay and Kate Masry are going to talk about that. But we also worked with fisheries through the African Alliance, and were able to purchase altogether in 2023, $63,000 worth of product to fisheries. And that is a really big thing for us Rhode Islanders because fish is such an important part of our food economy. So I won't get into too much of that because I'm not the expert there, but that's something that we felt really, really good about this year. Yeah, that's my update.
That's incredible, Ava. Thank you for sharing that information. What you all have been doing is amazing. And I think really also highlighted the fact that our core partners in the Alliance do not work in isolation. They work together very much. And that when others come into the alliance, that you become part of of a network of folks who are doing this together and really helping each other collaborate. So because you mentioned fisheries, maybe we should go over to Shay and Kate next. And I think Shay probably is going first. Great.
Thanks, Nessa. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rhody, and I work with the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island. So just for a brief overview for 2023, over 158,000 pounds of fresh local seafood was distributed among our partner organizations through our seafood donation program. And this was a program that was started through COVID, but we've been able to expand year to year. So for 2023, that's estimated about 105,000 meals. So we were very proud of that. And through this collaborative network that is the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance, we've really been able to connect with numerous new agencies serving the emergency food system. So we're just kind of realizing that this need for healthy protein is really only growing. So we've just been trying to expand and strengthen this network of partners. We've also been able to expand our network of seafood industry partners through 2023 and been able to provide new market opportunities for a range of seafood businesses. This has also allowed us to provide a wide variety of seafood species to the recipients of this program. So another exciting highlight from 2023 is that we started exploring opportunities to connect local seafood to Rhode Island K-12 schools. We've been working with Farm Fresh Rhode Island, Chartwell's, and also Tony's Seafood here in the state to do a sampling. So in the fall, we did a sampling of monkfish sliders made by Tony's Seafood at Gallagher Middle School in Smithfield. And it was very surprising, the success of the event. We had the majority of students saying they'd like to see that as a regular menu item. And we saw students going back for seconds and thirds, which was really cool to see. In 2024, we're really just trying to expand and strengthen this network. We're trying to identify new sources of funding and also connect and purchase from additional seafood partners. And also to build on that work, getting local seafood into schools.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Shay. Seafood is such an important part of our state's economy, and I think we don't have enough opportunities to enjoy our local seafood. Kate, I don't know if you wanted to add to what Shay was sharing.
I can add a little bit. Shay did a great job kind of covering all the bases, but I think I'm Kate Masery. I'm the director of Eating with the Ecosystem. So we're a nonprofit. We're based right here in Rhode Island. And we've been working with the Commercial Fishery Center of Rhode Island on different programs related to seafood and improving access to it within the emergency food system. So Shay did a great job of summarizing kind of all the different efforts that have taken place. We actually got involved with this back in 2015, before I was even involved with the organization, with a Seafood for All project that piloted getting local seafood from a couple different seafood businesses in the state into the food bank in Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Community Food Bank. And so through that project, Tony's Seafood, which is now still our partners, kind of stood out to us as one of the businesses that was best set up to help kind of facilitate that supply chain to get seafood into the food bank. And the food bank has some more specific requirements, such as the seafood needing to be frozen and family-sized portioned packaging, different things. And so not every seafood business is kind of set up to operate that way. And so Tony's was a great partner in helping kind of get some of these local seafood products into the food bank through those processing and kind of packaging techniques and methodologies. And so it was really great working with them and learning about kind of that process. And we've been able to expand that and incorporate another seafood business, Red's Best, which is actually Boston based, so not Rhode Island based, but buys from Rhode Island fishermen. So through them, we were able to get additional products like skate wings, for example, into the food bank, and that was caught by Rhode Island fishermen. So still supporting kind of the local fishing community. And then, as Shay mentioned, we have the fresh seafood donation program, which has really expanded kind of offerings and the amount of seafood that's been able to be given kind of to the community, and allows us to diversify in terms of species, everything from scup and whiting and live crabs and shellfish. Now, in addition to those kind of few frozen products that fit within the kind of price point and packaging point that work within the food bank. So we're kind of attacking things from multiple levels, which is really nice, and being able to diversify kind of the offerings. So the fresh program allows it's more efficient in sense that we're not paying for packaging, or we're not paying for processing. We're able to buy directly kind of from the fishing community, and then give it directly to the people experiencing that need the seafood. But there's obviously important avenues when you're going through a food bank or food pantry system that is reaching other audiences. And so being able to have both the frozen products and the fresh products, I think, has been really important.
Thank you so much, Kate. And I'm sure we can dive more into those different options, in the time that we have for discussion with folks on the call after as well. So we went from the land into the sea, and now we're coming back up on the land to talk with our third core partner, the Southside Community Land Trust. Kakina, would you tell us a little bit about the Southside Community Land Trust's major outcomes and accomplishments of 2023?
Hi everyone, Kakina Castro from Southside Community Land Trust. I'm the food service program coordinator here. We had a very, very successful season in 2023. We are a sub-awardee of the LFPA grant, and we were able to grow on all fronts of our program in 2023. One of our big successes was being able to provide upfront payments to 12 of our farmers, where each were given 3 crops that they agreed to grow for us. And they were paid 33% of those crop sales upfront in March to help cover any costs that they needed to, whether it was seeds or trays or tools, supplies that they needed for the 2023 season. And we gained a lot of really, really positive feedback from the farmers. Because of that, we developed 8 new partnerships for produce distribution in 2023. We also added 5 new farmers to our program. We provided 14 produce giveaways within our community. Some of those produce giveaways were at our own events, and a lot of them were at community events in the south side of Providence, Pawtucket, and Central Falls. We had a couple of what we called LFPA funded projects. One of them was the Woonsocket food distribution. We partnered with Open Farms Retreat in Cumberland, where they distributed 2,178 pounds of produce, and they distributed that to Thunder Mist Healthcare and Connecting for Children and Families. In total, we purchased $12,513 worth of produce just from Open Farms Retreat, and that was distributed to over 100 families. We also distributed 6,873 produce shares through our existing partnerships as well as our new partnerships. That was almost double from our previous year in 2022. Our sales overall nearly doubled in 2023. We did a little over $190,000 worth of produce that was moved through our aggregation program. And most of our farmers had at least a 50% sales increase from 2022 to 2023. And right now we're doing these kind of exit surveys of the season with our farmers and giving them a snapshot of their highlights from 2023. And it's really nice to see their reactions when they see their sales growth from 2022 to 2023. They're a little bit surprised because it's not something that they're necessarily keeping track of themselves. So it's really good that we have that information accessible to them. And that's just a short recap of 2023 for us.
That's amazing, Kakina. The level of growth and the number of farmers that you're helping, and the different ways that you're getting that food out into the community that needs it is wonderful to hear about. And I think what I'd love to do is just start actually with you, Kakina, to talk a little bit about, in a nutshell, how do you hope this program, your program, grows in 2024? What do you want to see happen?
Yeah, so some of our goals for 2024, we're hoping to sustain the program to what it's been built out thus far and have some small growth. We're hoping to build on partnerships with potential new buyers. Some of those new buyers will be our 3 tenants downstairs, 2 of which are open right now, but they will be buying produce through our program to sell in their restaurants. So they'll either be incorporating the produce into their menu, or for the West African superstore, they'll be stocking produce in the store, as well as lightly processing greens. So buying greens, chopping it, and having that already prepackaged, so that people buying it, it's just easier for them to prepare at home. It's one less step that they have to do. Another goal of ours is to build a more sustainable volunteer system for our program, because it requires a lot of hands-on help. And so, with this new growth, we need a little bit more hands. So we're hoping to build our volunteer system for that. We're also hoping to improve our data management and ordering system, just so that it's easier for us to track things. Right now, we're working on a lot of different spreadsheets to manage our program, and it gets very, very tedious and time consuming. So we're hoping to improve that as well. And then the last thing I have here is we're hoping to assist our farmers to expand their businesses by possibly adding value-added products from produce that they grow.
Great, that's a wonderful snapshot and really tactical work. And for those who might not know, value added just means you've processed it in some capacity. So from whole to fresh cut, or from fresh cut into something prepared, that sort of thing. Making strawberries into strawberry jam would be an example. So Shay, I'll come back to you next. You shared a little bit about what you hope to see in 2024, but if you don't mind just briefly reiterating that and sharing it with everyone.
Sure. So our first goal really is to expand and grow our fresh seafood donation program. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of other potential partners that we'd love to be able to bring on to this program. However, we just kind of don't have the infrastructure or the funding currently. So hoping to find new sources of funding to be able to bring on additional partners and regularly distribute to these new partners. Other than that, for 2024, we'd love to grow the efforts to connect local seafood to schools, whether it's the monkfish sliders or other products. We'd love to be able to connect with schools in our community here, as well as Northern Rhode Island and Newport as well. But so we're planning some new sampling, I guess, in Newport County for these monkfish sliders. So we'll see how receptive they are there. And then hopefully we can think of some other new products to go get those into schools, as well as some food banks and food pantries, like Kate said, that need that frozen product and also packaged. So that's kind of our goals for 2024.
Excellent. Well, Shay and Kate, I think you've successfully made everyone on the call want a monkfish slider or 2 at this point. So that's one step in the right direction. And Ava, we'll circle back to you now. I'd love to hear about what you want to see happen in 2024.
So I think that, I like to keep things realistic. And I think the fact that we are basically what I feel like is 1 year into doing a really good job at running these programs, I just want to keep doing what we're doing and doing well at it. And, we're working towards spending down the remainder of the LFPA award. But what we have seen is a huge demand for this, and we've seen a lot of interest across every stakeholder group. So the farmers and the recipients and, everybody in between. And so what I feel like a really big goal is for 2024 is to think about how we keep this going. And that's something that's really on my mind. And I know it's on the mind of a lot of folks, not just locally, but across the country. People are thinking about the LFPA program as something that's been really transformative for food hubs, for hunger relief work, for local producers all over the US. And there's dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of programs that are really starting to think about what we do next year, what we do in 2025, how we push this forward. So there is a marker bill that has been introduced by our very own Senator Jack Reed for the Farm Bill that would make the LFPA program permanent within the Farm Bill. And that's something that is really on our minds as an organization, something we really want to think about being able to move forward as much as possible in any ways that we can. And I think what that really amounts to is making sure we're doing a great job of collecting all of these beautiful stories that we're seeing on the ground of the impact that this is having for individual growers and for agencies, and making sure that we're telling the story of who's benefiting from this so that we can really raise up this great work that everybody's doing.
And that, I think, is just a great point to make. I think that, we're having these calls quarterly, and I see that some of you on the call have accepted seafood, have distributed seafood or land-based food. If you want to tell your story on one of these Alliance calls, maybe the next quarterly one, then please reach out to Allie. She'll put her email in the chat. It's wonderful to hear from our core partners, but we want to drill down. We want to hear the personal stories of how your business, your farm, your seafood company, your food distribution to people in need has been affected and has benefited from the work of the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance partners. So Allie is going to put the slides back up, but just for a minute to talk about logistically, how does the program work? How can you get involved if you're not already involved? And then after we do that, we're going to take the slides back down, because we know some of you are participating already and maybe want to grow your program. Others may have questions about how to get involved, and we're going to spend some time talking about that today. So Allie, would you go ahead and share the slides? I think starting with slide 6. Zoom always takes a minute, doesn't it? Thank you, Allie. I think what you can see really from hearing from all of these core partners is that this program, this alliance and its members are providing our Rhode Island neighbors facing hunger with fresh local food, and at the same time supporting the state's food economy. It helps ensure that Rhode Island can be resilient to supply chain shocks from public health emergencies, from climate-related disasters, and that our local emergency feeding system can also serve as a reliable wholesale market for our local growers and harvesters. So the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance supplier partners, the farmers and fishers, they want to sell their food for a fair market price to help their neighbors in need. And the Alliance buyer partners like food pantries and soup kitchens and the food bank offer a fair market price for Rhode Island grown and caught food, and they bring it to their clients in need. So altogether, the Alliance is building a sustainable market for locally produced and harvested food for both buyers and sellers. And I'm going to pass it back over to Allie to talk a bit more just about the brass tacks. How do you get involved in this alliance?
Thank you, Nessa. I will make this relatively quick. I feel like a lot of you have come through the website already because I recognize your names. But for those of you that have not gone to rhodyfeedingrhody.org to formally join the Alliance, I just want to kind of give you a quick overview of what you're going to find there. It is a humble but useful website resource where you can find information about the project and all of us core partners. You're also going to find a live updated map of where all of the Alliance members are distributing to. And so we maintain that based on the information we have. If you want to update that information, you just have to let us know and we can make sure that that happens. In the event that someone visiting the page is also just looking for food, maybe there's someone that stumbled across the page and maybe they're not distributing or growing something, they're looking to figure out where they can get locally grown food. There's information for them too. So there's a form they can fill out. And at the bottom of the page, I hope you'll pay attention, which is just the upcoming meetings and the recordings. So if you missed our 2023 meeting, and if you want to make sure that you're present for the upcoming 2024 quarterly meetings, that's where you're going to be able to sign up. And that information is there right now. And then I think we're ready to kind of turn over to the next portion, which is really the interactive section. And I'm really excited about this because I want to hear your voices and learn more about what you're doing. But this is going to be a group discussion. I'm going to leave these questions up here for a minute while I introduce this segment, and then I'll paste them in the chat so we can come off the share screen and actually look at each other. The thing here I really want to highlight is this Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance member badge. Anybody who signs up to be a part of this work is going to get access to this graphic. And the idea really is simply to market the idea that we're connected and to show that we're all here in solidarity to try and make this effort work. So please use this in your newsletter, in your email signatures, in your social media. Happy to be a thought partner on the best ways to implement this little logo. But we really think that it would be a strong way for us to show a unified presence. Okay, so I'll stop sharing here. Very good. All right.
And
I
maybe,
think this is a fine sized group. I don't think we need to break into rooms or anything like that. I think we can probably just have a conversation.
yeah, if you can unpin those of us who just were kind of in the speaking portion, it would help, I think, us to see everybody else.
Okay.
Excellent. So a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces for me at least, and would love to just hear folks' thoughts, questions, anything that you want to share. Just raise your hand or feel free to come off mute. Yeah, go ahead. Emlyn.
Oh, hi, everyone. As it happens, I was writing and researching a piece about other states having begun tax incentives for food donation. And I'm just curious, because I know that there was a composting related bill information that was just sent for a bill proposal. And I'm just curious from the folks here, what they know about tax incentives, whether they're effective, whether they might help to drive more businesses to donate their surplus food to organizations in this network. That's my question.
Who would like to take the first stab at answering that question? I know we have Josh on the call. Ava, you've been involved in this.
Well, I want to maybe give it to Dana too, because I know that she's been doing so much work and I know she's on the call. But I also want to just make sure that we're clarifying that the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance is really focused on purchasing from local producers and not on trying to incentivize donation, even though these things do go hand in hand. This is a very specific focus that we have, in part because of the funding source. It's related to building markets for farmers. And I think that, you know, as someone who started Hope's Harvest, the organization was really focused on gleaning, which was for donation primarily, at the same time recognizing that the ideal scenario is that the farmer is always getting paid for the product if they can be. And if there's any way to make sure that they are making income, because that's what makes the system most sustainable and most resilient across the board. So that said, there's really cool work happening around donation. And if we want to talk about that, I'm totally down to hear some of the updates, because I know that that's good stuff.
I think that makes sense. Dana, I'm sorry, I didn't see that you were on the call. But Ava, I think the point that you make is really a critical one. This particular project is about building markets. But I think, Dana, if you want to give a brief update on the tax incentive side, that would probably be of interest to a lot of people on the call.
Sorry, I pressed the video instead of the mute. Just so I answer correctly, is this specifically what our, like, how the food donation tax credit would affect more food to more people as it relates to this? I just want to make sure that I answer the right part of this.
Yeah, I think because other states had instituted tax credits for food donations, some only from farms, some for farms and
Right.
businesses and individuals, and just
Exactly.
whether or not that had been investigated for Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's definitely been investigated. So obviously the federal tax incentives would work for both farms and businesses. And for anybody here who does not know about what we're trying to do here in Rhode Island and federally, there are tax benefits that are provided at a federal level for businesses and farms that provide food to organizations, right? So it's based on a percentage of the fair market value of the food being donated. That would be for excess and non-excess. So even in the case that farmers are making money, they would still be able to get a percentage of the fair market value. In addition, some states, there's 13 now, it was 12, now it's 13, provide tax credits for businesses donating, again, surplus or non-surplus food. Some of those states limit those incentives or benefits, they're considered tax credits, to just farms. Others also allow businesses. I believe, and someone can please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I believe an example would be New York. I think New York only provides this for farms. Maybe I'm quoting the wrong state, but
That's
I believe
correct,
right.
actually, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Sometimes so there are some conditions where that is the case, but in Rhode Island we are trying to get the legislation for both farmers and businesses that have surplus and non-surplus food to be able to bring to organizations and be able to get that tax credit. So I hope that answers the question.
It definitely does. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you both. And I'll just state, even though that's not the focus of this meeting, and that this meeting is focused on building markets for these products, that there is a very active work group that Dana's a part of that anyone can join that is doing this work at the state level. So that group is open. And again, you can just go to the Get Involved page of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council, or you can email Allie. Vernon, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so hello everyone.
Your
Yeah,
volume is really low, so please maybe speak up a little tiny bit.
is that better?
A little bit better, but yeah, maybe shout at your computer.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best.
Better.
So yeah, identifying markets. So I recently attended a meeting with the USDA, and one of the great takeaways from that meeting was addressing hunger on college campuses more like collaboratively and like more comprehensively. So one of the stats was like 34% of college students experience food insecurity. So figuring out like how to expand into that like higher education market and like being realistic about the challenges families face, because I mean if they qualify for free school like breakfast and lunches, it's kind of far-fetched for us to believe that they're going to just automatically graduate from high school and be able to pay for their college meals. So that's a market that could be explored.
That's a great point, Vernon. And I think that reaching out so we can have some of those folks, the higher ed people, on these calls moving forward would make a lot of sense. It also lines up well, I think, with work that the Department of Health is doing to kind of work along improving procurement for state institutions as well. Shelby, I see your hand raised.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shelby. I'm with Hope in Maine, and I run a program called Nourish Our Neighbors. So we were really fortunate enough this year to partner with people in this alliance, and I just want to point out how much of an impact it made on our program. So the way that Nourish Our Neighbors works is we pay our member businesses $10 a meal to prepare meals that are all getting distributed to the emergency food system, to food pantries. So through this alliance and partnership, we've always required that members use at least 10% local ingredients because that's always been a just core belief of ours. But this program has helped us not only grow that percentage, but more accurately track the impact to farms and the amount of farms that we are supporting, because we're able to, get that data directly from Hope's Harvest. So just we had a $7,500 credit that we utilized in 6 months, and that allowed us to source from 26 farms, 56 unique products, 2,000 pounds of produce, and that went into 5,425 meals that were all distributed for free. And we were able to pay $148,500 to emerging food businesses that needed this income to sustain or grow their business. So just the virtuousness of all of these programs working together has been amazing. And we're just really excited to keep partnering and keep making it, stronger and stronger alliances so that we can add more value to all these great local produce and pay our farmers and pay our members and, subsidize the right things. So thank you all for all your hard work.
Thank you, Shelby, for telling your story. I definitely love to see that win-win-win displayed in the work that you're doing through Hope in Maine and Nourish Our Neighbors. I also just want to note Gemma's comment in the chat about considering introducing legislation that requires all state institutions to purchase a certain percentage of the food that they buy from local producers, very much in alignment with what the Department of Health is thinking about through its SPAN grant. And I can't keep up with all of the chat comments, but if anyone who has put a note in the chat wants to voice it, please feel free. I think that's Jeff. And then Ava also shared something, or feel free to raise your hand or just come off mute if you'd like to share. Love to hear from anyone else who has taken in some of the product and distributed it, to hear your story of how that's gone. Any challenges, opportunities you see? I think we had maybe a pantry that had some squid that they took in. Would you be willing to come off mute and share a little bit about that with the group? I don't know who it was. Maybe they dropped off of the call.
I could call it Donna Matthews is here from St. John's Lodge Pantry, has been working with us and just doing such a great job. Donna, I don't know if you're able to come off of mute either, but there you are. Hi, Donna.
Hi, how you doing? And also my director, Marianne Crittenden, is on this chat as well. We have just been so blessed with the work we've done with Hope's Harvest and the farm to food pantry work. So specific with the farm to food pantry, and Ava, make sure you correct me if I get anything wrong. We've received grants and we've used those to buy the proteins that we really desperately need at our food pantry. For produce, we are just so lucky in the growing season that we have been able to partner with a local farm. We're in Portsmouth, the local farm is in Middletown, and we've just gotten some just wonderful produce, and Hope's Harvest is actually going to increase it for us, because we see at probably the most like 150 families a week come through our food pantry. So it could be between like 125, 150 families. So we're hoping to increase our produce so that we can give people like enough per week, not like a quarter pound, but like, like a half a pound or more. So it's just been just a blessing. So Eva, so it's fantastic. Thank you.
Well, and high fives to Allie Jennings here, who's on the call from Farm Fresh, who does a lot of the on the ground work and making sure all that produce is getting out the door. There's a lot of people behind what we're talking about here, a lot of volunteers, a lot of truck drivers, a lot of pack house staff, a lot of, you know, folks, when we talk about the sort of the progression, there's the farmer and then there's the folks in the middle who are doing the aggregation and distribution. And I don't want to leave them out of the mix because they're doing really great, really cool work. And the link that I shared in the chat was related to Gemma's comment about procurement and having some requirement around state procurement. So this is a bill that was introduced by Senator Markey around federal procurement and trying to have more rules around local purchasing at the federal level. So might be a possible model for something that we could also look at in Rhode Island, or just something else to kind of add to the mix.
Thank you, Ava. Great point. And I know that at the national level, a lot of the priority legislation for our sustainable agriculture folks is around procurement. So that is one of the marker bills. I think there may be about 4 other marker bills that have been prioritized that are all around different kind of angles into the procurement piece. Kate, I see your hand raised. Come off mute. There you go.
Sorry, there we go. I just wanted to share a little bit more. Jeff had shared those really great photos from the African Alliance of Rhode Island. The African Alliance was a part of the fresh seafood donation program with the Commercial Fishery Center for a long time. And one of the things that Julius, which I think, you know, many of you probably know Julius, who runs the African Alliance, felt was really important for his community was that they were able to purchase their own seafood. And we're more engaged kind of within the seafood system. And so they've been working really closely with another one of our partners, Jason Jarvis, who you'll see in the photos there. Jason is a fisherman out of Westerly, Rhode Island. And so they've been working on connecting directly about purchasing seafood. And so currently, because it's the winter and Jason's a small scale fisherman, doesn't have his boat in the water, he's been helping the African Alliance source some seafood actually from partners in Chatham, Massachusetts. So not necessarily Rhode Island, but our close neighbors. And then once Jason is catching some of his own fish, come these warmer months, they'll be working closely with the African Alliance on purchasing some of that seafood for their community as well. And Jason's also doing some really cool work with them that we're helping to support through actually a press grant, which is a URI Sea Grant funded project related to sustainable research and sustainable seafood within the state, like pressing issues basically within the seafood industry. And we're there's some workforce development that will be happening also, because it's to get members of the African Alliance that are interested in becoming more involved in the seafood industry, some workforce development training. So I think that's one area for all of kind of our seafood industry in general, but is that we need more workers also entering into the industry. And so if you do have members of your community who are interested in learning more, the Commercial Fishery Center of Rhode Island has a really great fisheries apprenticeship program that they normally run each year, and Shay, I'm sure, can talk more about that. But there's also other areas, I think, of the seafood industry. If someone's not necessarily interested in becoming a fisherman, but maybe they're interested in learning how to cut fish and be a seafood processor, or maybe they want to be in the chef world and learn a little bit more about, cooking and preparing the seafood, we're happy to connect on that level as well.
Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing that. And also, Jeff, it's a really amazing story. And I know that I haven't caught everything in the chat, so I apologize for not pulling Jeff into the conversation earlier. Lisa, I see your hand up.
Hi, yes, I'm Lisa Kennedy, and I work at Tri-County, the HES director. And we just recently started working with Farm Fresh and Hope's Harvest, and it was really a great experience to have the residents able to get local produce here at our hub. So hoping to continue the collaboration with Ali, and it was really they were very excited to have actual fresh produce. They're like, oh, it's free. And so we were able to provide at least, oh my God, for the whole town of Johnston, North Providence, and Smithfield, we reached a lot of people. So, and the team was really great that came and delivered all of our vegetables and produce, and we got lots of potatoes at the end, but it was good. Everyone got potatoes, and so it was just a great experience. And the residents really, especially the seniors and the families, that low income families that we serve. So I was really excited to be part of that and hope to continue. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that. It's wonderful to hear about that experience. I think, really we want the Alliance to be a place that these stories emerge and are shared among us who are already on the call, but, also we want to grow this. We want to have more, we want this market to grow in terms of who's selling into it and who's buying from it. A wonderful thing about the Alliance is it's really not limited in terms of how the food is distributed. It could be a church supper that happens once a month that wants to integrate local product into what they're providing to their community, as well as a food pantry. So I just want to kind of make that point. And then I think I'll pass it back over to Allie, who's going to talk with us a little bit about next steps, including, how does the Alliance continue to grow and what we can all do to be a part of that. So are you going to share our last slide, I think, Allie?
I am. But I do want to pause and just second all of your gratitude, Nessa. This has been a really interesting conversation, and I love hearing the stories that are out there. I think those are really what make this feel like it's something really valuable. So not only thank you for joining us, but thank you for sharing and continuing to share. So if there are more things that you are learning and hearing about or getting involved in, we want to know about it so we can talk about it with others in a larger scale. So I dropped my email address in the chat, and I will do that again once I'm done sharing this next slide. But I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there. And if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to share my screen one more time. And this is just a listing of our upcoming meetings. So this is a quarterly get together, and we hope that we'll see you again for all of these next 3 meetings. Certainly you, in addition to all of your friends and network members in the great work that you're doing. So next up, we're going to be joining each other again here. They're all virtual until otherwise notified. And I'm going to paste all 3 of these registration links in the chat in just a second, but I just wanted to throw the dates and the times up there. All of them are at lunchtime in hopes that you can pause and join us for your lunch. Full disclaimer, eating on screen is totally okay. We don't mind that. So Monday, May 13th, Monday, August 12th, and Monday, November 11 are all the upcoming dates. And then for anyone who maybe has missed some contact information over the course of today, these are the core partner key contacts. There's certainly other individuals from these organizations that you heard from today. But if there was some particular work that you heard about today that kind of connected to what you want to do, or maybe you want to learn more about, I wanted to share contact information that you can use to reach out independently. You can also just email alliance@rhodyfeedingrhody.org, and that will get forwarded to all of the partners.
And I just want to add that it's wonderful that we have 40 people on the call today. I think maybe on our first Alliance meeting, we had about half that. I'd love to see us double it again, but we can't do that without everybody on the call inviting others to participate on the call. So a lot of us are already somewhat involved in this work. If there's a pantry near you that you think should get involved, if there's a church supper that has somebody who you think would like to get connected with local seafood or local farmers, this is a place to come to get connected. So please invite folks to participate in the next quarterly meeting in May to learn more about what Alliance members are doing and to get connected, whether they're on the demand side or on the supply side. And I think we will leave it at that. Give everybody 3 minutes back. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks to the Alliance members for all that you're doing and for being here. And thanks to everyone who shared a story or just popped in to learn more. We appreciate all of you. See you soon.